This is Good Morning Delhi with Chris.
Radio 1.
Good morning and welcome to the conversation that I'm going to be having in this hour. As a parent of 3 kids and having grown up in old-time India, well, not old, but, older, a while back, I'm always struck by the fact that our kids run around less, have more playtime, enjoy their playtime, and I think that's the reason why this conversation is so relevant, so pertinent. I'm going to be talking to Parminder Gill. He's the co-founder of EduSports, India's largest sports education company. And after a career, international career in the corporate sector, he helped start and scale EduSports, a pioneering physical education and sports organization that's currently enabling over 400 schools all over the country to improve learning and helping kids become healthier and fitter. And he studied at the Arizona State University in the United States from the University of Pune. And he joins us here to talk about EduSport. Good morning, Parminder. How are you doing?
Good morning, Chris. Pleasure to be on your show.
Great to have you here. Okay, so EduSport, I have to say, I really am intrigued and I'm very pleased with the whole idea because growing up, like I said a while back, we played a lot. We cycled all over the place. Sometimes we were literally, our play area was an entire neighborhood. And I don't see my kids doing that. And I think any parent listening in right now would feel the same way. Is that the idea behind EduSport? What were you all thinking?
Absolutely. I think the whole idea started with a simple vision of getting children to play. Mm-hmm. Now, come to think of it, how hard can it be getting children to play? And why would somebody want to do that?
Yeah.
But I think we are in a place today or at a juncture of our as a society that I think the play has gone missing someplace. So call it infrastructure issues, the urban context of it, the way as a society we are being driven to other things which are perhaps more materialistic in some sense.
Yeah.
Right. So I think the whole idea of getting play back into the society and which is where we are working with schools right now, because schools is where the children actually get the safety and security of 4 walls and perhaps a playground to have an access to.
Right. Because, like I said, earlier you'd come back from school, drop your bags, and then you would head out to play, after having your meal. While, there's a certain nostalgia attached with that, the world has changed. Parents don't have as much time. It's not as safe because there's so many vehicles. There's the issue of predators, all of that. So, which is why you're saying that this kind of a model has to change. We need to change the model of how we actually have play for our kids, which is within school premises or things like that. So what have you all managed to do? What is EduSport? What are the kind of sport we're talking about?
Right.
What kind of play are we talking about?
Right. So there are 2 things if you look at the sports today. So if you take a company like EduSports, we are democratizing sports. That's what we're actually doing, which means if you stay with the play, the idea of play which is more friendly, which is more, I take to it. Sport is a little more, sometimes I get anxious about it.
Yeah,
it's
or
serious,
formalized.
Right? It's a specific form of play.
And competitive.
Right. So typically I think the idea of getting children to play and take to play naturally, we need to have some content. It does not come naturally actually.
Right.
So we have props, we have age appropriate activities that they need to be doing at a certain age for them to get their flow, get the idea of fun.
All right.
And over time, it grows on them.
All right. Okay, we're going to come back, talk some more with Parminder Gill. He's the co-founder of EduSport, India's largest sport education company. Yeah, we've got to start off with that as well, apparently. We're going to come back, talk some more right here on Good Morning Delhi. Don't go anywhere.
This is Good Morning Delhi with Chris.
Radio 1.
Welcome back to my conversation with Parminder Gill, co-founder of EduSport, India's largest sport education company. You guys are 6 years old, you said?
We are 6 plus now.
6 plus now. What kind of play and sport? What ages are we talking about?
Right. So we have 3 or 4 modules. It starts with the early years program, which is typically play schools or preschools or nursery KG of a K-12 school. Then we have a primary school module and a middle school module.
Okay.
So again, the content varies based on which age group you are in. It is more fundamental skills driven in the early part of your the school.
Right, motor development, things like that.
So, and in the middle school, it takes a form of a specific specialized sports format.
Right.
Football, basketball, things that we know.
Okay. So is there space for also the old conventional Indian play? Like, Pitu and, Coco and things like that, because those are a lot of fun, or Dog in the Bone or the Chain. I get very excited just even thinking about them.
Right. The idea why, and I think just to answer your question directly, yes, we do have some of these which are important to a culture, some of these games as we call them. embedded into our curriculum.
Okay.
And these are fillers in between.
Sure.
In between the scientific way of getting skills to
Yeah.
children, so on and so forth. But the whole idea of play, when children are playing for 2-3 reasons. One is it's a fellowship. They're able to connect with friends around them.
Yeah.
Second is they need to see themselves improve every time they go out.
Yeah.
Right? So there has to be certain connect which needs to happen.
Yeah.
So which is what the content or any meaningful content anywhere has to do.
Right.
So I think some of these, even the Indian older games, used to have us connect, used to get us the fellowship with people.
Yeah, there's team,
And we
like the
just
chain game. I mean,
Exactly. We just look up to just running out of a house in the evening just to play with them.
Totally. All right. Why is it? And I see that you're approaching schools. You're working with a great number of schools because this curriculum is school driven, correct?
Yes.
But why has the Indian school not been able to fulfill that side of curriculum?
Right.
There's so much focus on academic.
Right.
Like earlier in the day, it was all right. Because you got sport outside that, you got play outside that.
Right.
But now we're beginning to sense a void, aren't we?
Right. So I think this slightly more complicated answer, which is the economics of the whole thing. Typically an Indian parent, and education system for any society, reflection of the society. It is not on its own.
Yeah.
So if you are looking at some gratification the time you graduate from a school, and you think if you did well in math, science, and English, perhaps economically it's a far better pursuit to
Right.
do.
Yeah.
Play, okay, there are sports stars, but it's very limited, very small number.
Yeah.
So not all of us gets motivated to indulge children in what is called as play or sport in a holistic manner.
Yeah.
So I think we end up shortchanging an education system which is following that.
Correct.
So unless that conditioning, the culture changes, you will see something where sports, the underinvestment as we call it, stays in the school system.
And the benefits are subtle, they're hidden, right? I've had enough sports people who've come and told me about this, or I've heard them, in interviews talk about the hidden benefits, discipline, team play, also the fact that you're physically fit. So you may not, the merits, or whatever, the benefits are not immediately obvious, but somewhere the payoff is there.
You said it. And in fact, since the parents are looking for immediate gratification or short-term impact of anything that they're investing in, a play or sport is more long-term format. Only when you're adult, you look back, you think what you learned on the playground cannot be recreated in the classroom.
No way, no how. I think any parent listening in gets what we're talking about. We're going to come back. Parminder Gill, co-founder of EduSports, India's largest sports education company. We're going to talk some more about sport and kids and why it's absolutely necessary for us to bump that up in our education system. Sticking around, of course, for the music coming up as well. Don't go anywhere.
This is Good Morning Delhi with Chris.
Radio 1.
Welcome back. I'm having a great conversation with Parminder Gill, co-founder of EduSports, India's largest sport education company. And I'm getting nostalgic, I'm reminiscing. At the same time, I'm also getting anxious and worried for my kids. When you talk about India and our culture, which is, we've got some of the biggest brains around, which is great. But I know there's so many kids who are also very inclined towards sport. And they never quite get that full sort of fulfillment, right? But then you see Saina Nehwal, you see Sania Mirza, and look at Sania Mirza, look at what she's doing on the international stage. Any one of our girls could be doing that.
Sure.
So why is it that while I see now new schools actually having programs in where girls can enroll for football or basketball or whatever, but yet there's a deeper conditioning in society which tells them that's for the boys. What do you have to say about that?
No, I think we witness that as a society. I think we've been a little inhibited as far as it comes to girls. And while there are superlative performances as Saina Nehwal and some of these guys have done great, but that's still very elitist. Only a very small percentage of that. It's great to get inspired by these folks, but you can't have a sustained program or an idea of how do you impact society with play. So that requires, I think, a bit of conditioning, change in conditioning. And I think what we are trying to do is at least find out middle school girls, for instance, right? That's a very sensitive time for they're growing up, and there are a lot of other factors that come in play. So we are looking at how do we have girls who don't have formal skills of playing sports still engage in play. So the program has to be very differently designed and run. So we're experimenting with that. I remember, a slightly more rural scenario of a football team of girls, and a girl actually saying that we asked her, why do you play? And she said, I play because I want to be as free as boys. And I thought that was very, very touchy to actually see the gender equity part which play can bring.
You're right. And it's so naturally and seamlessly without having to create rules around them, right? Because anyone can break into a run.
So we actually believe that girls who play grow up far more alert, confident, self-esteem, and bunch of things.
Yeah, and then we wouldn't be talking about childhood obesity.
Absolutely.
I mean, look at the conversations we're having.
Absolutely.
All right, Parminder Gill of EduSports, he's the co-founder, India's largest sport education company. If there's a school administrative person listening in right now, you could maybe get in touch with them and find out how they can help bolster your school curriculum. A healthy body is a healthy mind is a healthy body. I think it all comes full circle, all right? Well, we're going to come back. Don't go anywhere.
This is Good Morning Delhi with Chris.
Radio 1.
Welcome back to my conversation with Parminder Gill, co-founder of EduSports, India's largest sport education company. I'm rooting for these guys and more guys like them because I believe in what they're doing.
Thank you.
The idea is to grow our kids into healthier beings, mind and body, not necessarily to be the next Sania Mirza or Saina Nehwal or any other big sports person that's come out, Leander Paes or whatever. Sport is good for you. Play is good for you. What does it do for a child to be indulging in play relentlessly? Nothing wrong with play, playing all day. Right, Parminder?
Absolutely. I think at least until you get to senior grades where you need to find a balance in various things,
sure.
I think play teaches you more perhaps in terms of how do you connect with other folks and out on the ground and in fact we call it a laboratory of sorts if you're out playing and learn things which can't be recreated in a classroom ever.
But I understand the quandary that parents are in. They're busy, they're barely keeping like their mornings and evenings together. They got enough time just to come home and see their kids, tuck them into bed. I know these stories. And the parent wants more for their child. What do they do? How do they get a way out of this?
So there are a few simple things. I mean, you don't have to point a child to a bat and say, go out and play. You need to walk yourself out with the bat along with the child to play. So you could perhaps on a weekend go on a hiking trip together, do a little picnic outside.
Right.
You could watch sport together and celebrate something that also builds the idea of the culture of sport in the house, in this case as a family.
Yeah.
So I think, but you need to role model. There's no other way.
There's no other way.
There's no other way.
There are no shortcuts to this. Okay. I want to come to this part about entrepreneurship because you guys started about 6 years and more with EduSport. But before that, you were in the corporate sector. But I'm seeing a lot of models now.
Right.
And the ones that really sustain are the ones where there's a social angle to it.
Right.
How does that make you feel knowing that when you're worrying about the bottom line, you also feel good knowing that you made an impact socially?
Right. No, absolutely. I think it's a call, it's sometimes a personal call on what you really want to do. And you could do any business and the idea of making money. But for us, it worked out that the social business, doing good for society and also the inner experience of whatever that you're trying to fulfill in this case is. At the same time, we also decided it has to be for-profit model, which means we have to find a way to make money. There's no other way of, and we have investors and we have to create wealth for them.
Yeah.
So, but so far we've been doing great. I think we've been able to at least give investors the returns they're looking at and also sustain a company. We have some very good people working for us.
Yeah, and that's another thing. I mean, very quickly, this creates jobs for people in the sporting arena, coaches and sports administrators, people who are thinking about play for like preschoolers or even after that, primary.
Right.
I think there's a lot of scope here for employment.
Absolutely. I think the folks at, typically the physical education teachers, they come from the non-urban scenarios. I think so working with them and having them look at play in a non-sports format has been very, very exciting.
Wonderful.
And looking at some of these guys grow with us, and we have touched almost few thousand teachers all over India today.
That's awesome.
So it's very, very heartening indeed.
Well, more power to you and your kind.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and I think we should have a spot of, ball throwing or something.
Sure. Let's do that.
Thank you, Parminder. It's been a pleasure talking to you. We're going to get into more music right here on Good Morning Delhi. Yes, I'm not far. I'm coming back with more right here on your favorite frequency.